When France was liberated from Nazi occupation in 1944, the entire nation celebrated the end of a dark and painful chapter. Cities and towns echoed with relief and joy as Allied forces entered. But amid the celebrations, another story unfolded, a story that still raises difficult questions about justice, revenge, and the scars of war. Across France, thousands of women were accused of what came to be known as horizontal collaboration, forming intimate or close relationships with German soldiers during the occupation. These women were publicly punished in front of their communities. Their heads were shaved, they were paraded through the streets, sometimes barefoot, and often humiliated with black paint or tar smeared on their bodies. The message was clear: they were branded as traitors. For many, this punishment became a spectacle. Crowds gathered to watch, jeer, and spit. In photographs from the time, you can see women shielding their faces, carrying babies in their arms, while angry onlookers shouted insults. To the public, these acts were not just punishment, they were a cleansing, a way of taking revenge for 4 years of national humiliation under German rule. But the truth behind these stories is far more complex than the images suggest. Some women did enter relationships voluntarily. Yet for many others, these relationships were not born of choice, but of survival. During the war, food was scarce, jobs were limited, and families lived under constant threat. For some women, relationships with occupying soldiers meant access to bread, milk, or basic safety. In certain cases, women were coerced or forced, with little ability to refuse. Historians have also pointed out another irony. In a number of instances, such connections actually undermined the German war effort. Information, supplies, or influence gained through these relationships sometimes helped resistance groups. Yet, in the wave of anger after liberation, the public rarely considered these details. The punishment extended beyond the women themselves. Children born from such relationships, later called war children, faced years, sometimes decades, of discrimination. They were often denied official papers, taunted in schools, and marked with the cruel label, children of the enemy. Some grew up with fractured identities, caught between two nations at war. This phenomenon was not limited to France. In countries across occupied Europe, Norway, the Netherlands, Belgium, and beyond, similar humiliations took place. In Nazi Germany itself, such children were referred to as the dark shame, separated from society and stigmatized from birth. The scale of this post-war purge in France was striking. Historians estimate that around 20,000 women were publicly shamed in this way. Yet very few men faced similar punishments, even though many had collaborated with the Germans in politics, trade, or industry. The focus on women reveals another layer of this tragedy. The burden of national dishonor was placed disproportionately on them, while powerful male collaborators often escaped serious consequences. For decades, these women's stories remained hidden, buried under the official narratives of victory and liberation. Only in more recent years have historians, writers, and filmmakers begun to uncover the human cost of these events, showing that behind the images of punishment were complex lives shaped by hunger, fear, and impossible choices. This dark episode forces us to reflect on a painful question: does public humiliation and collective punishment bring healing to a wounded nation? Or does it leave behind even deeper scars? History suggests that the line between justice and revenge is thin. When blurred, it risks turning victims of circumstance into symbols of shame. The women punished in 1944 became part of a tragedy that reminds us of war's most enduring truth. The battlefield may fall silent, but its echoes reach far into families, societies, and future generations.